A big focus at the moment, the FBI says it is investigating a targeted terror attack in Colorado after a man reportedly threw petrol bombs at a pro-Israel event. The FBI boss, Kash Patel, has said that agents were on the scene and working with local law enforcement in Boulder. But witnesses have told US media that the attacker threw Molotov cocktails at people doing a walk to remember Israeli hostages in Gaza. I can inform you at the moment that a male suspect is in custody. Local police say there were multiple victims and a large part of the downtown area around Pearl Street has now been cordoned off. You must note that Boulder's police chief, meanwhile, has said it was too early to call this a terror attack. However, Colorado's governor did use those words. We have a reaction from the Boulder police lined up for you. Listen in.
The initial response by our officers, we were on scene very quickly. When we arrived, we encountered multiple victims that were injured with injuries consistent with burns and other injuries. While our officers and paramedics and fire department personnel got those victims quickly to the hospital, our officers were pointed out, a suspect was pointed out to our officers on the scene. Our officers immediately encountered that suspect who was taken into custody without incident.
My colleague Mohammed Ghazali has been tracking the latest details for us. He joins us live at the moment. Ghazali, as we've discussed, it's a stark revelation that the fact that this is a repeated situation coming up in the US, a man now setting people on fire in Colorado?
Yeah, a highly condemnable incident, and even the United States president has been briefed about the incident, and this was particularly Jewish protesters who had gathered for peacefully protesting and demanding Hamas to release the Israeli hostages who have been held captive for more than a year and a half. And that is when this particular accused, who started shouting "Free Palestine" as per the eyewitnesses, he started throwing the petrol bombs towards the protesters, leading to the injuries to 6 to 7 people, some of them moderately injured and some of them are seriously injured over there. As of now, the identity of the victim has not been officially confirmed, but reports and people close to those who are close to the administration claim that perhaps he is an Arab from Egypt or Kuwait who entered into the United States a couple of years ago on some other kind of visa, which doesn't allow you to permanently settle in the US. And the chance for bringing more stricter laws for immigrants is growing louder among those people who are close to administration after reports surfaced that this particular accused is an immigrant. But that is not officially confirmed, but highly condemnable incident considering the fact that just a couple of weeks ago we had 2 diplomats who were killed outside US Embassy.
Ghazali, as always, thanks so much for joining us with the latest on what's happening in the US. As Ghazali is mentioning, the identity of the victim hasn't been officially confirmed yet, but we'll of course track the latest details for you. With that, let's turn our attention to the other big story we're tracking. A Ukrainian drone attack destroyed more than 40 Russian planes deep inside the country's territory. Ukraine's security service has said, while Moscow pounded Ukraine with missiles and drones just hours before a new round of direct peace talks in Istanbul. The so-called spiderweb operation carried out by Ukraine's SBU security service saw drones smuggle thousands of kilometers into Russian territory using lorries before they were unleashed to destroy the aircraft. This is what the SBU has said. Russia has confirmed that Ukraine attacked airfields across 5 regions, causing several aircraft to catch fire. Dasha Chernyshova has the latest for us from Moscow, but before that, listen in to what Mr. Zelensky has to say.
Щойно була доповідь голови Служби безпеки України Василя Малюка. Блискуча операція проведена. На території ворога виключно проти військових цілей, проти саме тієї техніки, яка використовувалась в ударах проти України. Дуже відчутні втрати Росії і абсолютно справедливі, заслужені їхні втрати. Дякую Службі безпеки, особисто генералу Малюку, також всім, хто був задіяний в операції. Готували операцію більш ніж 1,5 роки. Планування, організація, всі деталі були ідеально підготовлені.
A day ahead of the second round of direct talks between Moscow and Kyiv and Istanbul, two Russian regions came under a major drone attack. The governor of a Siberian city of Irkutsk confirmed that remote piloted aircraft attacked a military unit. The drones were flying out from the truck parked on the road. A similar attack was reported in the Arctic city of Murmansk. In Russia's border regions of Kursk and Bryansk, two bridges have collapsed within hours overnight. In Bryansk, a bridge collapsed onto a train, killing at least 7 people and injuring more than 70, including at least 3 children. Up to 400 people were on board, many of them children. In Kursk, another bridge collapsed, derailing a freight train. The driver was injured. Senior Russian lawmakers say the attacks aim to complicate talks in Istanbul. Meanwhile, Russian delegation is reported to have departed for Turkey, where Moscow hopes to discuss its draft peace memorandum, as well as documents on possible ceasefire. Dasha Cherneshova, NDTV, Moscow.
Staggering footage from a Ukrainian drone of an airbase under attack in Belaya in the Irkutsk region of Russia. Belaya lies a whopping 4,300 kilometers east of the Ukraine-Russia front line. This footage, though, of another attack is the clearest of the damage on the ground. This is the flight line at the Olenia airbase. Several Tu-95 bombers are on fire. The footage is filmed from a Ukrainian drone. Olenia, located to the far north, is 2,000 kilometers from the Russia-Ukraine battlefront. How exactly did this happen? These pictures provide a clue. Ukraine Security Service conducted the operations called Spiderweb after more than a year of planning them. Drones were smuggled into Russia. These were hidden in mobile wooden sheds which were placed on cargo trucks. This video shows what happened at the chosen time. The roofs opened remotely, the drones flew off, targeting military airfields and aircraft. Ukraine claims that this attack, one among several on Russian air bases today, has resulted in 40 Russian aircraft being destroyed on the ground. Among them Tu-95, Tu-160 and Tu-22M bombers, the mainstay of the Russian Air Force. The attacks come just a day ahead of scheduled talks between Russia and Ukraine. No clarity at the moment on what will happen now to the peace process. Vishnu Shom for NDTV.
Well, this massive Ukrainian drone strike on parked Russian jets, many say has offered a glimpse into the future of war. But Sunday's audacious operation took more than a year to plan. This is what the Financial Times is reporting, and hit more than 40 aircraft at 4 fields deep inside Russia. Dubbed Russia's Pearl Harbor by pro-Moscow military bloggers, the attack reflects the prevalence of low-end artificial intelligence-enabled drone tech, and all this is happening just hours before a new round of direct peace talks in Istanbul. For an expert's view on the matter, let's go across to Washington, D.C. Allison Federka joins us live at the moment. Allison, really appreciate your time. Thank you so much for making time for us and joining us on NDTV. Now, how might these latest moves actually reshape Moscow's air power capabilities and also the military calculus going forward?
So the big thing that this latest move will do is give Kiev a little bit more leverage in these negotiations that they're going to be entering into tomorrow, or today, I guess, in your time zone. Yeah. The military calculus, the issue for Russia, I think, is going to be more of a domestic security issue of how did this happen? And that is, I think, the immediate military impact of what type of intelligence failure, what type of security failures existed such that Ukraine was capable of carrying out an attack, especially since there was an entire year worth of planning to get to this point in time. Longer term, of course, rebuilding their Air Force capabilities is going to be quite the task. It's going to be very expensive. And this is coming at a time where they've already spent a lot of money on military development and manpower, given that they have been fighting in Ukraine for such a long time.
Right. Allison, the timing of the drone attacks, meanwhile, on the eve of Ukraine-Russia peace talks in Istanbul, many say it is striking, but do you see this as a pressure tactic or a potential spoiler to negotiations?
I don't think it's going to be a spoiler to negotiations because both sides face heavy constraints in terms of how long can they keep on fighting. The runway for both countries is getting shorter and shorter, so it really is coming down to what kind of deal can we get. I think that Ukraine's move right now with this attack is meant to rattle Russia, to try to project a level of strength and intimidation that we haven't really seen from Ukraine to this point in time. I would also say that right before these strikes occurred in Russian territory, there were also Russian strikes in Ukraine against various Ukrainian targets as well. So I think both sides are trying to demonstrate to the other that they can militarily keep on going if talks fail, and that they're prepared to do that, and that they're trying to show that they can put more damage onto their enemy in an attempt to try to get a better space in negotiation and have some sort of leverage or upper hand on the other.
Right. Meanwhile, many are also wondering if AI-powered drones can now fly long distances, recognize targets, strike without radio guidance. What's the plan? How NATO and countries in Asia should actually recalibrate their defense postures? That's something we'll be keeping a close eye on. But Allison, thank you so much for making time for us and joining us on NDTV.
So one of the big things that we have to remember is the technology is rapidly changing. And in terms of what defense capabilities are needed to combat drones, is going to be very different than what is needed for, say, a fighter jet or something like that. In the case of the Russian attack, these drones were actually in Russian territory, so the distance was not quite as long. But in terms of satellite capabilities, air protection, air radar defenses, all of those things are going to be much more important moving forward because that's how you're going to take out the drones. That's how you're going to detect them coming in.
Well, Allison, we'll keep in touch with you for regular updates. Thanks so much for making time for us. And moving our attention now to home ground, Australia's Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Defence Richard Mauls will be in India and also travel to Sri Lanka, the Maldives and Indonesia from the 2nd until the 5th of June for high-level meetings. According to the Australian government, the visit to India coincides with the 5th anniversary of Australia and India's comprehensive strategic partnership, which underpins our relationship and shared vision for the Indian Ocean as well. And with that, let's turn our attention now to France, where 2 people are dead and nearly 560 have been arrested after disorder broke out following PSG's victory in the Champions League final. A 17-year-old boy was stabbed to death, and a man in his 20s was hit by a car while riding a scooter during these celebrations. Indigo has actually announced that it will be placing a firm order for another 30 wide-body Airbus A350-900 aircraft, taking its total order size to 60 of these long-range jets to fuel its international ambitions. So basically, in April last year, Indigo had actually announced a firm order for 30 A350-900 aircraft, along with purchase options for another 70 planes of the A350 family. But on Sunday, the airline and the European aerospace major Airbus, they've inked an agreement to convert 30 of those options into firm orders. Slipping into a quick commercial break, news and updates continue on the other side in a moment. Do stay tuned. Back, let's take you to Canada now, where more than 25,000 residents in 3 provinces have been evacuated as dozens of wildfires remain active and affect the air quality in parts of Canada and also the US. According to officials in some parts of the US, the air quality reached unhealthy levels on Sunday. But Maha Siddiqui has been tracking the latest as far as Canada is concerned. She joins us live at the moment. Maha, take us through the worst impacted areas, also the latest forecast.
Parmeshwar, dramatic visuals are coming in from Manitoba, where we are seeing the skies turning orange, smoke billowing out, And there is a great threat at this moment to the population in that area. That is why 17,000 people have been evacuated in Manitoba, the province of Manitoba. What is a big concern and worry at the moment is that the wildfires that are raging in one particular area in Manitoba are very close to the capital of the province, which is Winnipeg. And that remains a cause of concern, because if the wildfires spread as they are at the moment, then they could be very close to the urban infrastructure, which is definitely a matter of great concern for Manitoba. The plumes of smoke that we have been seeing billowing out and the pictures that are coming in, which are extremely dramatic and worrying, the pollution there is drifting now across the border to the US, also to the states that are just down south of Manitoba. In North Dakota, we have seen the pollution levels go up as well. Of course, the other neighboring states or neighboring provinces in Canada are also witnessing similar situation of pollution because of the wildfires. But at the moment, the concern is about the population, that they should be moved to places that are safe. And that is why we have seen this large-scale evacuation of 17,000 people.
Maha, as always, thank you so much for joining us with the lowdown. Do stay safe. We will revert to you for regular updates. With that, let's turn our attention now to the neighborhood, to Bangladesh, where prosecutors with the International Crimes Tribunal have formally charged former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina with crimes against humanity, alleging her role in ordering mass killings during a nationwide uprising in July. This is what local media is saying. The charges submitted by Chief Prosecutor Muhammad Tajul Islam and his team accuse Hasina of being the chief instigator behind the violent crackdown that unfolded during the July and August unrest. You must note that Sheikh Hasina's trial will continue today as well. Meanwhile, in staying with updates from Bangladesh, you must also note that the country has restored the registration of the largest Islamist party, allowing it to take part in elections more than a decade after it was removed under the now overthrown government. The Supreme Court overturned a cancellation of Jamaat-e-Islami's registration, allowing it to be formally listed as a political party with the Election Commission. For all that's happening in Bangladesh, let's go across to my colleague Saurabh Gupta, who's been tracking all the finer developments. Saurabh, as far as the latest decision on Sheikh Hasina is concerned, we're given to understand that the trial continues today as well. And meanwhile, the decision on the country's largest Muslim party has now paved the way for them to participate in the next general election.
That's right. The Jamaat is a hardline Islamic party, and therefore, it has a history in Bangladesh. And one of the reasons is that many took offense to the Jamaat is because of the fact that the Jamaat had supported Pakistan in the 1971 Liberation War. However, it was banned later by the Sheikh Hasina government. That ban had been overturned after Muhammad Yunus took charge. Now, the implications of the Jamaat perhaps contesting elections, and, if it has a considerable say in the political sort of dispensation in Bangladesh, then there are implications for the neighborhood. And by neighborhood, I also mean India. Now, the Jamaat in the past has taken an anti-India stance. It has also in the past collaborated with China, demanding an independent Rohingya state in the Rakhine state of Myanmar. And that has geopolitical implications for India, including several high-profile strategic initiatives that India has undertaken in the region. So obviously these are worries. Now, this is not the first time that Jamaat will be in politics. Earlier, it has been in politics. It has in fact been an ally of the BNP, the Bangladesh Nationalist Party. And at that time too, relations between India and Bangladesh were not really great. The Jamaat, of course, has historically been opposed to India. It's been a pro-Pakistan organization. In fact, the critics of Muhammad Yunus have accused him of using the support of the Jamaat, who have used the students as a front to cling on to power. The Bangladesh Nationalist Party has demanded elections by December. Yunus, of course, has given a vague timeline. But in all of this, the Jamaat getting its registration back paves the way for this organization to register itself with the Election Commission and possibly contest elections when these elections take place in Bangladesh.
Saurabh, as always, thank you so much for joining us with the lowdown. Moving on, a new drug could stop some breast cancer tumors from using hormones to grow. This is what a trial has found. In fact, results from the Serena 6 trial carried out with the Institute of Cancer Research in London suggests that using camizestrant could actually help patients stay well longer and delay the need for chemotherapy. According to Cancer Research UK, the drug works by blocking estrogen from getting into the breast cancer cell, which researchers hope can then stop or slow the growth of cancer. Breast cancer patients given the drug in this trial reduced their chances of the disease progressing by 52% compared to standard therapies. And in other news, China's government has accused the US's Pete Hegseth of trying to sow division in the Asia-Pacific region over his speech at a Singapore Defense Conference where he warned that China was a potentially imminent threat. On Saturday, Mr. Hegseth said that China was credibly preparing to potentially use military force to alter the balance of power in the Indo-Pacific and was rehearsing for the real deal of invading Taiwan. China is now furious. Meanwhile, one of India's best-known wildlife conservationists, Valmik Thapar, has died at his home in Delhi at the age of 73. Dubbed India's Tiger Man, Mr. Thapar dedicated 5 decades of his life to reviving the big cat's dwindling population. In fact, many close to him will tell you that life had questions but no answers. Then the jungle found him. Condolences have poured in from all quarters for the Tiger Man, a name he rightfully earned. Thank you, as always, for investing your time and watching this edition of The World 24/7. We'll keep tracking the latest updates for you. Do stay tuned.